Recently, one of the jiu-jitsu gyms in our area just they had their promotions, their whatever periodic promotions, and one of the guys from our gym had moved over to that gym, and he went from brown belt to black belt. I showed up over there for an open mat, and they told me that he had been promoted from brown belt to black belt. One of the white belts asked, "Hey, now that this guy's a black belt, does he have to register with law enforcement?" And it's interesting. Over the years, you hear somebody, "Oh, this guy's registered as a deadly weapon with law enforcement, with the police department, or whatever." I'll tell you for certain, in California, there's no law, no requirement that you have to go to the police station when you get promoted to a blue belt or a purple belt or a brown belt or a black belt, that you have to register. But what it did make me think about is the law. Or we have in California, we have California Penal Code Section 245, and it basically says that if you are involved, if you assault somebody, you have in contact with someone, you lay hands on somebody, and it results in great bodily injury (GBI), then you can be convicted of either a misdemeanor or a felony. It's called a wobbler in California. So, but the interesting part is, if it's a felony, you can do up to 4 years in state prison. If it's charged as a misdemeanor, you can only do up to 1 year in county jail. So I thought it was interesting. I wanted to see what the jury instruction was, whether or not you're going to do a year in county jail or 4 years in state prison if you hyperextend someone's elbow, you break their elbow, or you get them in some type of leg attack and you cause on that lower extremity, whether or not you're going to do 4 years maximum or you do 1 year maximum. And I actually pulled the jury instruction. These are, we have a California Supreme Court. We have a judicial committee that approves the jury instructions. And I pulled California Jury CalCrim, or California Jury Instruction 875, which is entitled "Assault with a Deadly Weapon or Force Likely to Produce Great Bodily Injury." And there's several requirements. There's like 10 instructions in there. And the first one is, defendants charged with, and this is what's read to a jury after they hear the evidence, but before they decide whether or not you're guilty of this charge. So, the defendant is charged with assault with force likely to produce great bodily injury in violation of Penal Code Section 245. To prove that the defendant is guilty of this crime, the people must prove that, 1, the defendant did an act that by its nature would directly and probably result in the application of force to a person. If you're a jiu-jitsu brown belt or black belt, and the person you got in a disagreement with has a broken tibia, fibula, or they have a dislocated shoulder, they have a dislocated wrist, or they have a dislocated elbow, you're probably going to get a little bit of trouble, and you might be looking at 4 years, because we train to do that all the time. Now, the next requirement is the force used was likely to produce great bodily injury. For us, we train, we know how to do it. Anyone who's a blue belt or better can dislocate someone's elbow. The defendant did that act willfully. Anytime you involved in a physical altercation with somebody, that it was willful. When the defendant acted, he had the present ability to apply force likely to produce great bodily injury. The DA is going to be very comfortable with that if you've been in a bunch of competition and you've gotten trained fighters or trained jiu-jitsu players in positions where they've had to tap and submit. Probably you know how to do that. And then the defendant did not act in self-defense or defense of someone else. You're fighting in a bar for no reason, probably. The next requirement, voluntary intoxication is not a defense to assault. And the next thing that's read to the jury, great bodily injury means significant or substantial physical injury. It's an injury that is greater than minor or moderate. If you dislocate someone's elbow, you break their ankle, it's going to be that. So if you're a jiu-jitsu player and the person suffers an injury consistent with a jiu-jitsu move technique, you're probably looking at 4 year state prison max as opposed to 1 year.